Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. We are back with Dr. Boz, myself, Jennifer Marie. We're doing Keto Talk. We love Sunday nights. We love talking about all things keto. How have you been, Dr. Boz?
You know what? I had a big countdown on my own page getting to 100,000 subscribers, which probably is going to happen while we're doing this. And it was a huge accomplishment for me. Like, I started out saying I needed a little classroom for my patients to go watch these videos. I was crazy enough to push record and boy,
I was watching.
yes, that's how
you are right. So close.
Well, and the truth is that I think most physicians feel the pain that I was suffering, which was, how do I take what's in my mind and get it into the minds of patients when I only have 20 to 40 minutes with a patient?
Yeah.
And that's just enough time for them to barf out their questions. How do I get all this stuff done?
Yeah.
And, you can turn it into an hour-long visit, and that would be wonderful. But boy, in the world of today's medicine, that's really a difficult thing to set up. So what started out as an experiment on YouTube has become something closer to a worldwide classroom and an identity that I'm really excited about. 2019 is going to be amazing for
I think 30. When I first learned about you, I think you were only at 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah.
I remember, I feel like I've been through the journey with you.
And you're like, I think something's happening with my YouTube account. And then I look, I'm like, 25,000. What? Why are there 25,000 people looking at this?
I know, it's crazy. It's a good thing. Well, you know what? There's a lot of interest in keto. And there's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, which I'm very happy about because I've been doing this almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow is my 2-year keto anniversary.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I knew that was coming. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. So
yeah.
Just out of curiosity, so what is from keto date 1 to now, what's your weight loss?
Oh my God. You would think, so it's kind of funny. It's 62.9 pounds.
See, amazing.
Yes.
That's a big deal because that part of, taking people when they first come into like the keto group or they've just read the book, I'll tell them, don't look at that scale. That's not what we're focused on. Life standing on the scale isn't this obsession. And boy, it's really a tough habit for people to break. But once they start feeling healthy, this weight side effect, this lost weight, it's really just kind of like an afterthought of how well you feel and how much better your energy is and your focus and your drive.
Yeah. In fact, I posted, this is a brand new shirt I'm wearing, size medium. Hey, I used to have to shop for size 2X. So I am very happy that it's a medium.
Oh, that is such a big moment.
In fact, I remember posting, I was in the fitting room and my daughter was in the same room with me and I was like, oh, she's like, what's the matter? She thought I saw a bug or something. I'm like, this is a size medium and it fits. And I just took a picture right there, like, oh my God.
Victory dance.
Oh my God.
Every woman would do a victory dance. I don't care what culture, what age, every woman would do a victory dance to get to that moment. So
for sure. It is such a good feeling. But it's not just about weight loss. It's about how good you feel. It's about the energy you have. It's about the clarity that happens within here. Thinking you just feel better. Your skin is better. I mean, there's so many benefits. So it's really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, congrats. So
the
journey of your last week. We had some major tipping points over the last 3 weeks. Do you want to just take people through a little recap of what we're trying to navigate?
So yes. Okay. So Dr. Boz and I are experimenting. So we were doing an experimenting on me because I started the symptom of having hot flashes, not just a little heat here and there. I mean, like major full-on hot flashes, and it didn't feel like it was going to go away. Now, to give you a little bit of background, I feel like every woman, maybe over the age of 30 or something, I feel like this is a common talk in our group that almost no matter what age you are, there is a little bit of fluctuation within your hormones when you first start, because everybody talks about those things fluctuating. I vividly remember that happening to me when I first started. I want to say it wasn't as bad. And I mean, I do remember it being bad, but I don't think it was for this long. And I think is this 4 weeks now? This is 4 weeks.
Is it 4?
Yeah.
3 or 4, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was only a couple weeks when I first started. And then I stalled out and I started to lose again. And the hot flashes came again and then dwindled down. It wasn't that bad. But then now that I've started fasting, I feel like I've woken up the hormones again, done something, and then it's happening again. So I do feel like it does do that normally for people until it balances out. But for me, it just didn't seem to balance out. So we decided to do a little experiment. We wanted to get my ketones up higher than what they were. So we tried some exogenous ketones. Now, mind you, I have never been a fan. For those that have been following me for a long time, we don't allow the talk of exogenous ketones in the group. There's so many people selling them. They've ruined the name. Like, it's just like, oh my gosh. So it was very hard for me to kind of get behind this. Okay, try some exogenous ketones. Dr. Boz explained it. Look, if your body isn't doing this, it's not producing it on its own. You can do it one of two ways. You can either fast for an ungodly amount of time, or you can do ketones in a can.
Right.
So last week, not this week, but last week, I did try the ketones. I did get some good numbers, but the hot flashes never really subsided. They stayed very steady. And not only that, when I took ketones, so I don't think I had a very good experience with them, or maybe my body didn't take well to them, or maybe I wasn't doing it right. And I'm going to say that when I took the ketones, I tried to take them every 3 to 4 hours during my 8-hour eating window in the day, which is great. They have a wonderful appetite suppressant. I feel like when I was taking them, I wasn't eating enough. So my calories were very little. I was trying to eat, but there's only so much you can eat when you take those things.
Right.
And then I feel like it was in the evening that I was like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. And there were some days I was able to get, yes, it threw me off. I was doing so well. But then you had me, and then I did a mistake. Remember, I was taking ketones with water. Right. And really, to help your body digest them, you had to take them with fat. That helped a little bit, but it still threw off my window to where I was still, it wasn't enough to carry me to the next day.
Right.
So
I think you were getting like snackies about 9 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah. And
Which
it was
is not normal.
That is so not normal for me. I can stop eating between 3 and 5 every day. It's not a problem. Today, it was 3. No, it was 4. I stopped eating. So I stopped eating fairly early. It's not a problem for me. But if I don't get my calories, and I don't know, the exogenous ketones, they did make me feel weird. I don't know. Yeah. But they did bring up the numbers at sometimes too.
Right. So let's just make sure that I recap on a couple of things. So if you look at where the increased amount of fat for fuel will absolutely lead to an improved production of several of these fat-based hormones. So when we look at those fat-based hormones, it's things like estradiol, which is estrogen, testosterone, the cortisol, that's part of our stress response, and pregnenolone, which is progesterone-ish. All of these hormones are part of that female reproductive hormones that kind of go bonkers they disappear when you have menopause. So when we checked your blood test, we could see that your pituitary gland, or your brain, was telling your ovaries, please make some estrogen, make some estrogen, make some estrogen. And we know that when a woman goes into menopause, the longer they go without making any estrogen, the more confident we can be that there's a point of no return. So thankfully, when you're having weekly consults with the doctor, we knew exactly when your hot flashes started. I actually went back and I was doing some just like, how do I use these teachable moments? And so it was right around between Christmas and New Year's where these, there was a fever, but then there was, I watched that interview with us and you were definitely saying the word hot flashes and you were totally, yeah. I'm like, well, then there you go.
It was about Christmas. It was Christmas Eve. We did a live and you could see, I have a window right here where curtains were flying like this because I had the window open.
That's right.
Yes. Because I was so hot and it was freezing outside and everybody, the family is like, shut the window. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But so when
yeah, I mean, you have a perfect timeline. So we said, all right, if I was like, let's say you had breast cancer, there's a couple of drugs that I can do that will shut off your ovaries from producing any estrogen. If your breast cancer is estrogen receptor positive, we're going to stop it. We're going to, use some drugs to target that breast cancer. And what that will do to your ovaries is put you into menopause immediately. So if we look at the women who do that and we say 2 years later, what happens? Some of them, many of them, their ovaries will go back to producing estrogen. So what we were hoping is that we could alter the delivery of fat, supplying your ovaries with the tools to make estrogen and see if this kind of brought you back from the brink. If we failed, you and millions of other women will go through menopause this year, and it is a place where the estrogen disappears and your body ages and your brain ages. And we said, if we can stop this by a natural process of living on a high fat diet, it would be a gift of kind of fountain of youth for another 5-10 years, whatever your ovaries would last. If we fail, then you're not out anything. It's not like you're going to, we made it happen.
Yeah, I would be out something because your brain ages at 3 times as fast when you're in menopause. Right. So yes, I would be out something. Let's make that very clear. I don't want to be in menopause. You do not want to be in menopause if you don't have to. This was important enough for me to take some exogenous ketones or freaking starve myself with fasting to save my brain.
Right. So the other alternative that you have out there, and this has been something much like when we first took our interviews, you said one of my biggest fears is going without food. Fasting for long periods of time has this emotional connection in my heart that I don't want to, I'm scared of. You've also said, I don't like taking pills. So we could stop menopause. We could stop your brain from aging by putting you on an estrogen and progesterone hormone for 10 years. And you and millions of women will do that. Not necessarily you or millions of women could do that to stop that transition from happening. But we're trying this. Yeah. So here we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and let me just remind people, just in case they didn't tune in last week, that I had blood tests done to prove that my FSH level was off the charts. Like it was really high. Dr. Boz, as I say that though, I know that when I first had my blood work done and I know that we didn't go back. There's some blood tests that I don't think I was able to show you because they were done with a different doctor. And do you remember when I told you that this happened to me in the beginning? Do you remember? And they told me I was going through menopause. Remember that?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm going to try.
Was like a blood test. Oh, good.
I know there's a blood test out there. Because I do remember I told you I went to my OBGYN, and she said, oh, no, you're not, because we can see in the ultrasound, right? Yeah. So
so let's make sure before next week we get a peek at your labs.
Yeah, the labs. So there's labs that you get from all these different doctors. And I think this one was from my primary care, where I think I'm missing a set of my very first labs. And remember, that's 2 years ago. Right. So I'm almost going to guess that my FSH level was off the charts then. And
Seriously?
I think so. Because remember when I said that's the reason why I made an appointment with my OBGYN, and 6 months later, she's like, no, your numbers are fine. So I was like,
did to push it down. Oh, isn't that interesting? Yes. So you have high, then you have a normal, then you have yeah. Sputtering is not uncommon. That's what we're trying to say. No. Don't jump off the cliff of no estrogen yet.
Yeah.
There's options, but this is way better if you can do it.
I really think that there is something to pushing your ketones and really getting your diet right that'll correct those numbers, because I know I had the hot flashes before. I know my doctor told me that I was going through menopause, and I know I verified I wasn't 6 months later through my OB/GYN. So I just don't have the medical documented proof from that visit 2 years ago yet, but I am determined to get it. So I'm going to see if I can.
I'd love
Yeah,
to see
that would be fun. So let's just give you the update now for this week. So last week you totally put me on the spot and you said,
At the end of the show, I'm like, all right, what are you going to choose? What are you gonna choose?
You did. I vividly remember it. You totally said, so what are you going to do? Take some ketones, or are you going to fast? And I'm like, I don't even think I answered you, did I?
Nope, you did not.
I didn't. Because I have to be very committed. If I say something, then I'm going to do it. But I wasn't sure that I was going to do it. So let me just give you a few updates. Let me pull up my numbers. Okay. So this is my week. So I started off with some horrible numbers. And then I got to 36% ratio. And just in case people don't understand what this is, we take the glucose, we divide it by the ketones, we get a ratio. I was trying to shoot for a ratio of 40% or under, really to get those ketones high to help out the ovaries to produce the estrogen. So on Sunday, you can see I hit that number at 436, but then at 6:30, I was out of it again, which is weird. So the 21st, me and my husband had a little celebration and I had some alcohol and I didn't care. So we didn't do that either. I didn't weigh and I had a drink or two. So I didn't care about Tuesday. Okay. Wednesday, this is the day that I started fasting. I decided after my last alcoholic drink was at 10 p.m. on the 21st. And I fasted until the next day, until 6:30 the next day. And I got my ketones, I got my glucose down to 69 and I got my ketones up to 2.6. It wasn't a full,
beautiful.
Yeah. And it wasn't even a full 24-hour fast that I hit 26.5% ratio. So I had dinner at 7 because I was hungry and I hit the 40%. And I was like, oh, I am eating. I am not waiting until the next day. So I think that was okay, but I probably shouldn't have eaten so late. This is where I was confused. Do I eat late? Do I not? Because normally I don't eat late. But you know what? There was no confusion that day. I was eating. So
you knew exactly what was right for your body, didn't you? You're like, no, this is what I'm doing.
Yes.
So it is a teachable moment though. So let's just pause for a second there. So you get to that, 24-hour mark and, you've really stressed your system. And, you can say the word stress and people will think of something negative, but we are asking your body to flex. We are asking your body to tap into those fat cells and to increase the production of energy. So we know that whenever you add fuel up, by eating, there is at least a small insulin response. Even if it's complete fat, your body really does say, we've just had a response. I don't like to call it insulin. We'll just say it's a metabolic response. So you get all the way to the 24-hour mark, you've hit a goal, which the reason we check those numbers is because I can't do a blood test and say, oh, Jennifer, with 100% confidence, I know your body is in autophagy. No, we don't have that. We have some guessing points, and the guessing points come from the literature where we take glucose and ketones in combination. And when you use the American metric numbers, if you divide the ratio, the lower that ratio, the better the chance of autophagy. So the lower that ratio, the lower your insulin, which is really what we're trying to measure. So when you get to that level at 7:00 on a random Thursday night, and you say, what's the best thing to do, eat or not eat? The answer is to not eat. Now you did it and you did fine. And you really checked off of your bucket list something that you had not done before, which is almost a 24-hour fast, right?
Yes.
So that's exactly right. So when we're talking metabolic science, the test of how do we get the best answer for autophagy, how do we get Jennifer's weight down, there was an answer. But then you add in Jennifer's life. Okay. She had done something that her brain didn't want to do. She did not like the idea. Whenever I would mention fasting, it was this place like, no, 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 no. We got to find a way to not do that.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, it's all right. We can find answers that aren't this script. But the textbook would say, if we want the metabolism to flex, if we wanted your immune system to fight cancer at a rip-roaring rate, then the answer was don't eat. In your case, you say, all right, look at how well you did. You got that ratio down to something we haven't seen from you in what, 3 weeks? At least 4 weeks, maybe. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So you ate, and what the goal of eating is you want satiety. You want fullness.
Yes.
Yes, that's what you wanted, right?
Yes. It was good though. So last week you had also said that the way you do it is you start your fasting every week on Sunday. Your life is so busy that you don't have time for these 12 hours, 16 hours, whatever. You just decide you're going to hit the 40% ratio once a week. Right. Or at least I didn't know what you were going to hit. I was thinking, do you fast and then get to 40 and then eat and then fast again to get to 40 and then eat? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't going to call you. I wasn't going to bother you. I knew you were having a busy week. So I decided it wasn't so bad to do those longer fasts. I really can't stand black coffee though. I'm going to tell you that. I took, I think, 5 sips to get the caffeine, and then I didn't drink anything else. I'm like, this is disgusting. I really don't like that. But anyway, to finish my week, let me bring it up again. I went, let's see, the next day, was it on the 24th? I started and I just ate a normal dinner, but at 4:04, I was at a ratio of 30%, which was awesome. I feel like when you fast for a long period of time and you give your body, you stress your body, I think it's easier to get into those deeper ketones the more you go.
This is truly the definition of keto adaptation though. When you are keto adapted, what that means is that you can flux the choice of, do you burn ketones or do you burn glucose? And we want your system readily practiced in how, if the sugar is not available, your body flexes the signal to say, hey, liver, send me some ketones. And the liver is very much in shape for producing those ketones, raising the level of fuel that you never feel shaky or hypoglycemic. They're not really hypoglycemic. They're just relatively lower than they're used to. And boy, that it does send through the shivers. They just hate it. Nobody likes that feeling. In somebody who's been keto adapted for 2 years, even if you hadn't lost weight, your body was very readily available to produce those ketones. And then we teed you up really nicely, which is these overnight fasting, 12 hours. I mean, did we ever even do 10 hours? We started right at 12.
No, we started at 12. Yeah.
Yeah. So 12 hours of nice, clean, open, nothing going into your liver. And again, remember that what happens in the morning is that timer starts with your circadian rhythm. So the danger of what I see, the pattern happening with, if I fast until I get to 40 and then I eat, as long as it still gives you the 12 hours before your circadian rhythm, is the part that I'd be careful of. So here's how I do it. If I feel tempted that I'm going to eat, I won't look. Meaning if I know that the ratio is less than 40 and I could eat, then I just don't look. I don't know if you noticed on the sheet. I think one day I tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I tested 6 times because I was ready to eat already. Get it together right now.
I was hoping it was earlier in the day, and by the time it was that late, I said, "Screw it, I'm eating." Like, that's it. I mean, whatever. I can definitely stretch that goal. It's not as hard as I thought, which is fine, but
it is a mental skill though. I just think it's such a valuable thing to pause and make sure that the audience understands that you don't put this on the plate of people saying, hey, why don't you fast? And then just walk away.
Yeah.
It really is this journey of saying it's a skill that you learn how to say no. Look at how well you've done with those 12-hour fasts. That is a difficult barrier to overcome. And you have just been superstar. Really good job. Really good job.
Thank you. Hey, let's take a question. There's a question from Mac Terrio. Max says, is there any time in the first few months of being in ketosis that you should get your blood work done for a benchmark? Or do you recommend, say, at 6 or 12 months mark to get your blood work done to verify your cholesterol numbers?
Cholesterol, that fun question. Okay. So if you choose to check your cholesterol within, I would say 12 weeks of going keto, you're going to have high cholesterol. It's going to be higher. I would not take on that battle with most physicians. I mean, if you're my patient, I'm not going to look. There's a metabolism shift that's happening. To make sense of it, it's fun. I could do it for just kind of like geeking out, and if you wanted to like write an article about it just to say this is what I did, but I will not make a medical decision on that. What I look at for cholesterol histories, I mean, first of all, the goal of looking at your cholesterol is we're trying to predict a heart attack. Okay, cholesterol in and of itself does not predict heart attacks. There is a mismatch between if you have a genetic problem with how your liver metabolizes cholesterol, we know you're at increased risk for a heart attack. But that isn't going to shift my discovery and my decision on what to do next in those 6 to 12 weeks when you're trying to figure out, can you be compliant with a ketogenic diet? One more thing against you doing it, being confident and trying to walk up the river of all the controversy and all of the backlash people get for a ketogenic diet. I don't want to add one thing to that negative talk. So I will not look at my patient's cholesterol until we get out, until they're stable. They're like in a place where we can now measure and make a decision. And I don't look at cholesterol alone. In fact, you could talk me out of checking cholesterol. I would check your waistline. I would check your blood pressure. I would check a highly sensitive C-reactive protein, which is if you had a little camera looking down the insides of your arteries, there is an endothelial lining a skin lining on the insides of those blood vessels. And if that gets inflamed and irritated and filled with, swelling, inflammation, that highly sensitive C-reactive protein goes up, and that predicts a heart attack. That correlates to a heart attack. I would look at your hemoglobin A1C, which is a blood test that says, what is the average blood sugar for the last 3 months? Those things teach me how are you doing with your diet? Do I need those to make sense? Do I need to check those in Jennifer Marie? No, she's given me her insulin checks every week, which is what is her sugar divided by her ketones. And when her ratios look that good, I'm like, dang, she's doing a great job. I'm not going to do anything that might deter her from continuing on this path. Maybe once you reach your goal weight and you've been there for 6 months, then I'd check some labs to say, all right, this is what your body looks like stable. And then we could make some sense out of things.
You guys, don't you just love how Dr. Boz explains things so simple? Can you guys give her some hearts? Just give her some heart reactions if you like how she explains things. I love it. I love it. So
that core teaching though it is so powerful. I have folks come to my keto group here in Sioux Falls, and when they come and they want to talk cholesterol, I now can pass the baton to any of the kind of the stable people who've been coming and say, why don't you explain cholesterol? Because that lesson is so powerful, and the ability to fight it, to be able to argue it against your own physician, that's not something everybody has the confidence to do.
Yeah. So Gloria Gross says, I fasted from Friday night to this afternoon. 45 hours.
Nice.
Wow.
Sweet. That's awesome.
That's a rock star right there.
Yes, that's a big deal.
Wow. So this morning I hit the lowest ratio I've managed, 47.
Nice. That's really a big deal.
That is.
I often look at, how great Jennifer Marie does and says, you should come look at what normal. Jennifer Marie has really good metabolism. She really has been keto adapted. So remember, she's been at this a couple of years.
Yeah.
When people first start looking at their numbers, they'll say, but doc, my glucose is 106. Well, I don't know if I'll ever be able to reach a ratio of under 80. I'm like, just hang in there. That process of getting your body to flex is amazing. To get a ratio of nearly 40, that is powerful.
That is.
Your body is saying thank you for years to come, even if they just cleanse like that once a month. That's a big step in the right direction. Good
So she's
job.
asking, she said, my question is, would I do better if I took exogenous ketones? I mean, when you're at 47, why would you?
Right. So exogenous ketones, let me back up a little bit saying, I don't put my name behind a supplement without doing research. I was absolutely not convinced that these ketones, exogenous ketones, were helpful. And then I went to the first Metabolic Health Summit where they are using them in the protocols for everything from lung transplant patients to cystic fibrosis was another study that was done. In fact, I recently went and my researcher and I organized in the last 3 years, what are the scientific papers all studying exogenous ketones and their benefits? And it is powerful. It is not it's not needed though. I mean, I put them in my home because I have teenagers that I don't want having sugary drinks where they have acne and they've fallen off the bandwagon and I'm trying to suppress their appetite, but they don't fast. They're teenagers growing. I have a mom with cancer that I want to have exogenous ketones at my house if she is using her press pulse protocol that we need to have those for. I use them when I've had alcohol or when I've fallen off the wagon with sugar. So there are definitely places where you can use them. But in the bigger scheme of things where you're saying, Doc, I did well on this fasting and I got down to a ratio of almost 40, you need to celebrate that your metabolism is doing amazing. And if you, like, I can remember the first 48-hour fast I got to, I kind of went hog wild with eating. I just was like, oh, I deserve all this. Like, oh my goodness. And I felt awful the next day. Like, it was a carb hangover. I shouldn't have done that. But it actually took me several fasts to not do that. Like, I need to stop doing that. Because I just would, felt so rewarded that I'd done this. Okay, so those are places where if you fall off the wagon and you need right back on, use them exogenous ketones. I mean, they're expensive. I mean, I have them priced as economically as I can do this, and I'm still in the middle of the pack for how expensive they are. Like for one jar, it's nearly $50.
It is.
I know it's expensive. And so do I use them every day? No. When they're looking for help with their cancer treatment, I don't talk about expense. That's cheap in the relative scheme of things.
Yeah, totally. So Kenny Michelini says, what's the ratio in testing my blood and ketones daily? So we take the blood glucose, we divide it by the ketones, we get a ratio. Anything under 80% is weight loss. Anything under 40% is boosting your immune system. Anything under 20, we're helping you for cancer.
Right. Yeah. Think of that under 20 as my critical care patients. They are definitely fighting for their life. If I look at the times I've hit 20 or less, it was when I was trying to walk a journey with my mom who does have cancer. And, that's hard. It's really hard. I have to get like 72, 85 hours before I get to a ratio under 20. So okay. No, thank you. I mean, I do it every week where I start on Sundays. I usually, eat around lunchtime on Sundays. And then I get to, I check my numbers and post them on Instagram. So my Instagram is just filled with pictures of these ketones and these glucoses. But what I'm trying to show patients is that, no, this is what a ratio looks like. This is what it is. And there's times where I've had a run in with some vitamin C gummy bears and my sugar is over 180 and I'm like, oh dang, look what happened. I mean, when really what I'm just trying to do is demonstrate that this is a range. And when you use this ratio, I'm trying to get to a ratio of under 40. I want to stimulate weight loss, but I also want autophagy. I'm trying to like recycle fat cells and stuff that I don't want to have around in 10 years. So I push to 40. And then as long as it's in my 12-hour window I probably hit a 10-hour window is what my life usually lets me do. I will eat, but try to really respect the window of 10 hours before I wake up. I shouldn't be eating.
Okay. So since you mentioned your Instagram channel, I know you're going to the health summit next week. So I just want to remind people, if they're on Instagram, to follow you, Dr. Boz, on Instagram. Also, if you don't know, I'm also Keto Friendly Recipes on Instagram, and I post a lot of amazing recipes on there if you want to follow me there also. So here's a question from Karen Menson. She says, does surgery mess with your ketones? I haven't gotten a hint of pink on my strips since my hysterectomy on January 8th.
Okay, so January 8th, and today is like the 20 days later, right? So January 8th says you will have a huge stress response to your body. I mean, we're taking a knife and cutting through your skin. Okay, so your body's response is intense steroid response or a cortisol response to heal. So, what is the enemy of uh, ketones? Is insulin. So when that sugar is released because of all the extra cortisol, and when the insulin follows it, and there are no ketones. So when we look at what happened to your body starting on the 8th of January, it had an incredible trauma. Now, it was planned and it was under anesthesia, and hopefully your pain was controlled. But it was a trauma. No matter what way your outside of your body looks at it, that's what the inside of your body saw. Now it needs to mend that trauma. And part of that stress response to mend is the cortisol. Cortisol is like prednisone in a pill. So if you've ever had a friend who is on prednisone, or they're an asthmatic and they have to take prednisone, or their joint is not doing well and they got a cortisone shot in their knee or a cortisone shot in their shoulder. Um, Long before my time, you used to get Kenalog shots for allergies. And what are these? These are steroids. These are antidotes for suppressing your immune system and stopping everything from overattacking. But that's what your body did starting on January 8th. And that stress response is powerful on how much it is not going to allow you to produce a ketone. So it would be, if I was your doc, and again, you got to make sure you got a relationship with your doc. I can give advice to Jennifer because she is in a doctor-patient relationship with me. But my patients that are going for surgery, first of all, I don't let them go to surgery if they have high sugars. I'm like, unless you're going to die, you're not going to surgery until your sugars are controlled. Number one is too hard to heal. The mending of what happens as you put together those fibroblasts and seal back up the skin that was cut, it becomes this very thick keloid or this really tough scar in the setting of high sugar and, of course, then high steroids from your own body, not from the doctor. So then the next thing, though, is, well, could you use ketones in a can? And I would contend it depends on where you're at. So if you're somebody who's been had a terrific trouble with weight, you've had it on, you've lost it and gained it back and lost it and gained it back, and now you've got a chapter of life where it's more on than off, and you just had surgery, I would totally be putting ketones in 2 to 3 times a day. I would put a scoop in. I would put it in with high fat. And even if it suppressed your appetite all the way up to bedtime, I would do that for several days to get those ketones churning, get that body used to what ketones feel like. Not only does that decrease the inflammation, it decreases their appetite. It decreases the kind of there's a whole milieu of chemotaxis, the way cells talk to one another when they're in stress. And when you add ketones to the mix, you get a better outcome for less inflammation, better sleep, less appetite, all of which are very helpful for recovering from a major surgery like a hysterectomy.
Awesome.
That isn't even adding into the part of the story that says, oh, wait a minute, before the surgery, were you producing estrogen? Are you suddenly going through menopause? Or, even if they have a hysterectomy, many times we'll write a prescription for the estrogen in the pill form. And that's great because now you have one less thing to deal with this month. But how well is that level matched to your body? Well, the only way we know as physicians is you're going to come back and we're going to check some blood tests, just like I did in Jennifer Marie. And those blood tests will teach me, did I pick the right dose? Because we're kind of guessing based on your body. So there's a lot going on there. So if you were my mom, I'd take the ketones.
Yeah. Rick Fernandez says, once you hit a good ratio, how long do you try and stay there? When do you eat again? So isn't that where you were saying that, it was 7:30 at night. You probably should have waited until you ate within your normal circadian rhythm. In other words, when it's daylight out, not nighttime.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, it has to fit in your life. So be mindful of that. I mean, there's a set of rules and then you have to overlay the filter of you.
Yeah.
So you did great. I don't want you to hear anything except great job. Look at you got through your first 24-hour fast. It's amazing.
I didn't tell you the rest of my week, so don't say I did great yet.
Okay, we'll get there. Okay.
Okay.
If we go back to his story, though, what I did, just kind of on this journey as well, is the first time I started fasting, I was doing a 72-hour fast with patients for 8 weeks in a row. And although I made it to the end of that, I saw how disruptive that was on my own life. My kids' supper was just disrupted. So in the end, I said, okay, I'm going to fast until I hit the ratio of 40 or less. And then I'm going to go back to eating a ketogenic diet until the next week. So that's why I do it once a week. I do it till I hit a ratio, and then I go back to eating, trying to stick to my 12 hours. And I try to check ketones and glucose every morning. Sometimes I post it, sometimes I don't.
Yeah. So Diane is asking, what type of fat would you use with exogenous ketones? I would use heavy cream. That tastes bad. Exogenous ketones are disgusting.
They're terrible. They're salts.
They're awful.
And those salts really are meant to be, they can really kind of cause a reaction in your gut. You can get diarrhea from them if you've not used to that. So just be careful. Start with a smaller dose. See how you do. I have folks that are allergic to or they don't deal well with dairy. So we use the cream in the coconut milk, just harden up in the refrigerator and use that in it.
Awesome.
It whips up nice. Yeah.
Okay. So let me give you the rest of my week.
Oh boy.
So on the 25th, it was a normal day. I didn't have really good ketones. It was okay though. It was a normal day. The 26th, let's see, today's the 27th. So yesterday, I did end up getting to another 30% at 6:40 p.m.
Nice job.
Which was great. That I stopped eating at 3 like I normally do. And I got really high numbers, 57 glucose, 1.9 ketones, gave me a ratio of 30, which is friggin' amazing. But I was doing recipe testing. Valentine's Day is right.
I knew this was going to come into your life somewhere. I'm like, how the heck are you a cook and not have any of these?
I know. So I have been racking my brain. My husband wasn't home. He was at our lake spot. I kind of had the house to myself. And that's what I like to do on a Saturday night, is like get in my kitchen and start experimenting. And I was thinking about Valentine's Day. And I'm like, I need a red velvet cake. And I'm like doing all this research on red velvet and all the recipes that have sugar and how they put vinegar with Dutch processed cocoa and flour. And I'm like, oh my God, I am determined to make a keto-friendly red velvet cake for Valentine's Day, because that's what I want. I love red velvet and I haven't had it in 2 years. So I went to the store earlier. I got Dutch process. I got everything I needed to do this experiment in my kitchen, and it was done. And I had my daughter taste a little, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's my pickiest kid. She's my older one. She was the only one home with me. And she's like, I didn't expect her to say she liked it, because she never likes anything keto anyway, if it's a dessert. And she goes, oh my God, it's freaking delicious. And I'm like,
oh, yay. Oh, good job.
Way. So because she said it was good, I couldn't even resist. I had to taste it then. Because we made it
the sniff test of that one. You're like, no, I got to experience this.
I was totally going to wait until the next day. And she's like, I want a slice right now. So she made herself a slice. So I was like, I'm having a slice. It had the most amazing cream cheese frosting on it. It was pretty freaking good. So yeah, that was late. I didn't do very good.
Here's the deal though. The benefit of having the metabolism that you have is like, what was your numbers today? What'd you wake up with?
Well, I woke up with 64 blood sugar and 0.8 ketones.
Oh, I mean, you can sell those.
So I didn't go overboard. I mean, the cake was keto friendly. It definitely was in my carb count. So it wasn't like I went off the diet. It wasn't like I just went off my fasting window from doing so well. Right. But here is the best news of all. Since I've been doing the fasting with not eating any food has done way better than any exogenous ketone in my body, no matter how much I put in it, no matter how strict I was, no matter how much I didn't eat, it just did better and it worked. Even when I did red velvet,
No,
keto-friendly
that's
red velvet
perfect.
cake. So fasting does work for me. I'm a little sad that the 12-hour, I had a 12-hour window that was going so well for me. I'm hoping to get back to that 12-hour window because that really does fit my lifestyle way better. 16, I could push a couple here and there, but when the 12 and the 16 wasn't working, I know to push it. So lesson to everybody who's listening, if you have high numbers, if you're not getting the ketones that you need, you do need to stress your body. You do need to have that longer fasting window to boost up the ketone numbers and to lower the sugars. It really does work. Or exogenous ketones is the hack that you could do. Yeah.
But most importantly, I think the powerful teaching point here, though, is let's go back to before you met me. You were stuck in this zone where you didn't know how to fix this. And the power of where you're at right now is that you understand your body's metabolism. If I would disappear from the scene and we wouldn't get to do this anymore, you still have the tools to say, well, I know if I get this ratio down, even if you do it in a 12-hour window or not a 12-hour window, or you fast twice a week and then you have red velvet cake, all of that still says, look at how quickly your body returned to a ratio of that. Had somebody done that with you in your 20s, you would have had the avoidance of so many of the problems that are now a responsibility of the medical establishment, but also we caused that. I mean, we did that to you. We said, let's get that surgery. Let's figure this out. Let's do this way. And I think the power of you, bravely showing the world, I'm trying to lose this weight. I'm really stuck. What do I do? And then just being so great at this, like with your mistakes, with your celebrations, both. I mean, I just think it's such a powerful teaching point that I want to make sure that the world says, make sure you encourage Jennifer Marie. Thank you for doing it. There are ripples of education that happen to say the most important part about her, breaking through this plateau and whether or not we get these hot flashes to go away is she has the power to study herself and to make these decisions because of the education that's come with this. So I'm just so proud of her. It's amazing.
Thank you. Well, honestly, I've been doing this for 2 years. If I would have known then what I know now in the beginning, I would have been at my goal already. I would have been at my goal a year. I mean, when I set out to do this, I marked on the calendar how long it would safely take me to get to my goal. And it was 1 year. Now, did that stop me? No, I'm stubborn. I'm hard-headed. I'm going to get there. I'm going to figure it out. And, 2 years ago, people weren't really talking about keto. So I'm here. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to tell you I've made the mistakes, but more importantly, I want you to learn from them because I want your journey to go faster than mine. I want your journey to be better than mine. And I think that's what we need. We need to tell people how to do it right, how to do it when you get at a stall. And there's ways to do it with food, which, we've done the beef and butter. There's ways to do it with fasting. There's ways to do it with strict diet like beef and butter or, carnivore with fasting. There's ways to do it. There's many ways to do it. And it's all about figuring out your body and what works for you. And I'm so glad that I started testing with my 406 meter. By the way, I think we have it linked in here if you want to know which one I use, but it's a reliable meter. I never wanted to poke my finger, but
if you're going to poke, man, you better get an answer on the first try.
Oh, and for those who don't poke, I think somebody pointed it out a couple of shows ago, poke on the very side of your finger. There's no nerve endings. Like now it's no big deal. I got this, yo. But it's just amazing. If you're stalled or if you're stuck or something is happening with you that you don't know what's going on, I highly suggest you test. If you're just starting out, don't worry about testing. Don't worry about that. Don't even worry about how many calories you take in. Just worry about the carbs. Worry about the carbs and worry about the sugar. So, it's all about the journey, right? You start off with figuring out the food, the carbs, and then you figure out the calories. And then you probably stall a little bit because you've had too much sugar-free red velvet chocolate red velvet cake with cream cheese, amazing frosting. And then you start to fast, and then and then you figure out the science, and then you're hacking your body, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
It is. It is the most freeing journey I've had for my patients too. That the number of patients that are taking off medications, and when I know my goal for them and for you is when you're healthy enough that you don't need a doctor. That's the goal. This is not. We live in a life of abundance. There's no reason for malnourishment and the chronic illnesses that we have in our country, but it comes with feeding our bodies correctly. And that is this education. So I just need to say thanks again for doing this for your audience and for all of those that have spread the word, because we are going to help with this problem.
So
one ketone at a time.
Yes. So Selma's asking the very good question. Did the hot flashes get better?
I actually wanted to ask that too.
I know. I was waiting. So they've gotten better. They haven't gone completely away, but I'm not like drenched in sweat. So I can tell.
The observation for me was like, oh, look at her. She hasn't had no time where she's wiped her forehead.
I know. So they've gotten better. They're not 100%, but if I had to give it a ratio, I would say they're probably 60% better.
I like
it too. I like it too. So, I will definitely continue to do longer fasts. They're not that bad. Since we're talking about fasting, I have a 13-year-old and a 23-year-old. So I know it's okay for the 23-year-old, but I think it's, I don't know. What do you think about fasting? Like a kid?
My teenagers don't get to fast. They get to we've learned that the word fast can mean removal of things. So we fast from Skittles. We fast from candy. We fast from, so those fasts we'll let them do. We try to do some time restricted eating in our house. So that where the kitchen's closed and there's no eating after this. And I think that's a safe thing for their liver and their bodies. The other part that I've really been, transformed is when you look at the temptations our kids have today. There's a couple people in my keto group that I'm just so encouraging of. They are taking on the school system and how many carbs end up in the meals of our children, especially those with subsidized meals. You put more carbs and added sugar in one meal than the kid's supposed to have in 3 days. And so you look at those challenges about what is it that they are faced with. So even though they're going to be keto in my house, and they're teenagers, they're making decisions that are really kind of in their own realm. I make sure that the options in my home are, if you want a supplemental drink, it's going to have ketones in it. It's not going to have glucose. And we work with time restricted eating as opposed to fasting. If they do, there's a Catholic school that one of my sons goes to, and they do a 24-hour fast. And I said, you could do that. That's a once a year. It's kind of a religious kind of celebration. He's learning what that really means. And I think you do learn a lot, even as a kid, to say, this isn't this no man's zone. I mean, think about what would happen to your mind had somebody said you could fast for 24 hours without eating as a 16-year-old girl. Like, I bet nobody did that to you. Nobody did that to me. I thought that sounded like that's like punishment. You're going to be like calling child services, right?
Yeah.
And to allow them the ability to say, no, this is in the range of normal. But to do it routinely, I don't encourage that for my teenagers. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
My youngest watches, she's mini me all the way. And she watches exactly what I do.
Good job.
And she's like, can I do this fast? Like, can I? And I'm like, she was the one who 4 months in, can I do keto? And I think I've showed you her before and after photo, which it's in the low carb inspirations group. If you ever want to look up her before and after photo, just do Jennifer Marie's daughter. And I think it has like 3,000 likes. She's done it on her own.
The one thing I'd be careful for a teenage girl is just be mindful. Her hormones are going to surge. So she may get like a little heavier periods those first couple of months when they go keto. And when you fast, you're going to take her up to the next hormone level. That's a good thing. That's not bad. It's really healthy for bone development, getting the most out of her growth spurts. That's not bad. But to just educate them that just like we're flexing some of your fat-based hormone production, we're going to do that when you switch them to a keto-based diet. But also if she does a fast, excuse me, if she does a fast a couple of times a week of 24 hours, I'd check her ketones just to see how high she flexes them. You
Okay.
may see increased menstruation, or maybe, that's not out of the range of normal.
I will definitely let her know that. I also feel the need to tell you that we don't ever weigh her. We don't focus on weight. We are very, very careful. We don't want to start an eating disorder or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We are very careful. We don't count calories with her. She watches her own carbs, but she eats probably more strawberries because she likes them. We make sure to give her vitamin C. Like, we're very careful not to make this a weight thing. And she likes to do what mama does. So
that's really good. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that is a great week. So here are a couple of announcements, though. I am realizing next Sunday I will be on a plane at this hour. So I won't be able to do this next week.
That's okay.
So
we'll postpone it because I am out of town too.
Oh, good. That works out well then.
Okay, yeah. We won't have a show next Sunday. Sorry, guys.
That's good to know. I mean, we were going to compete with the Super Bowl, so who's going to watch?
Yeah, well, I don't know. maybe not.
I'm a Tom Brady fan, so I got all kinds of flack last week when I said, "Oh my word, he made it to the Super Bowl again!" And they're like, "Rawr, we hate Tom Brady." I'm like,
I guess that's it, right? Do you have anything
just to make sure I have this right? So you're going to fast until 40 and then try to keep it in the 12-hour window. Is that your game plan for the week?
So yeah, I mean, it's going so well. I really don't mind fasting until 40. I did it 3 times this week, and yeah, I mean, that was pretty good for me. And I didn't realize you did it only once a week. And I think that's my overachiever self.
Go for it. I'm not going to stop you. I will not do anything but encourage you. But this girl is not doing that.
Well, I would love to get back to my normal window of that 12-hour fast where I had really good numbers. I know to push my body a little further. Maybe it'll naturally fall into that rhythm again.
Mm-hmm.
I can hope. I know that's what works for my body. I just want to find the rhythm, because once you get in the rhythm, it's good. I do have something else to report, though. I did have a weight loss of 1.7 pounds this week.
Oh, good job. Good job.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Nice job.
The nice slow weight loss is good for me. It's really good, fasting for the skin. So I'm happy with that.
That's a perfect. So stay nothing but praise. Good job.
Awesome. Well, it looks like, Dr. Boz, you have a good trip. We'll be watching you on Instagram for all those clips.
Follow me. That would be amazing. I am so excited. I'm nervous, but I'm so excited about can I do this?
I was hoping.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was really hoping I could have went there with you, because I do like to go to all those summits, but I just couldn't make it work since I got another trip. But I will be watching you. I will watch for your lives on Instagram.
Oh, good. Yes. Okay.
Awesome. And we'll be watching your YouTube and hope you get to 100,000 too. So go find her on YouTube. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys have a good night. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. Stay tuned.